We are going to talk about a true events, action thriller, with a pinch of drama kind of film in the title of 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. In 2012, there were 294 diplomats outposts worldwide, 12 of them were assigned at a critical level, and 2 were in Libya. Immediately after Libya's civil war began in 2011, as well as the deposition and targeted killing of dictator Muammar Gaddafi, Benghazi has become one of the world's most dangerous places, prompting the United States to evacuate all of its outposts there, with the exception of one called the Annex, which is guarded by a team of CIA contractors, 6 elite ex-military operators known as GRS. Jack Silva was on his flight, playing with his wedding ring, feeling anxious. Jack arrives in Benghazi, where he is met by Tyrone Roan Woods, his best friend and fellow contractor, who was supposed to drive him to his hotel. The two of them started catching up and talk about their families. As they drove in the narrow street, it was chaos. The car in front of them was open, and the driver was dead. There were tons of armed individuals within the area. A group of rebels approaches the two and stops them. Roan communicates with their chief to request that the rest of the group be brought in for assistance, but the chief declines. In order to conduct an inspection of their vehicle, the militant commander commands the two to pull over. To defend themselves, Jack and Roan draw their firearms, and Roan informs the group's leader that they are being followed by a drone that will kill him and his relatives if they do anything about him and Jack. The two of them are given permission to leave. As they entered the gate, Jack saw the lined-up armored cars stole by their squad. Roan bravely faced the chief of the Annex CIA secret location about the squad's inability to back them up outside the facility. Roan is reminded by the chief to never engage in combat with civilians and consistently to avoid conflict with militant groups. Jack gets to know the rest of the team, which includes Chris Tonto Peranto, Dave Boone Benton, John Tig Teagan, and Mark Oz Geist, 3 ex-Marines, 1 ex-Army retired. The secret base attracts attention, well, mainly because they are foreign to the area that is being seen by the locals almost every day, second, because of the not-so-secretive design of the compound they have. Tig gives Jack a tour to familiarize himself with the compound and the surrounding area, as well as the function of each watchtower they have, introduces their sleeping area. While Jack was at it, he gets to reminisce about his family. Jack is sent on a quick mission with 2 undercover CIA agents, Sona Gilani and Britt Vayner, to collect information. For safety, the rest of the GRS is within the vicinity as well. Roan notices a couple of dubious men and ends up getting out of his car, putting himself in a vulnerable position. As soon as another GRS was aware that Roan was on the move, they also made sure that it was safe for Sona and Britt. Not letting his guard down, Jack noticed the movement, saw Roan's signal, and notified Sona and Britt. Sona and Britt are escorted out of the building by Jack, who has been alerted. It was a long chase, but they end up safe. 5 weeks later, Jack was having a video call with his family when he was called for a meeting. They were given a task to transport the team to the Special Mission Compound, where they will meet with J. Christopher Stevens, the United States Ambassador to Libya. They meet up with 2 other guards, Dave Ubben and Scott Wickland, and get to know their way around the facility. The compound is 9-acre, the entrance has a forced entry blast-resistant door, with security bars on the windows, and a safe room plus a wide-open space, welcoming unwanted attention and snipers, without standard hard target security measures. Stevens observes some suspicious men around at the compound snapping pictures in the early morning hours of September 11, 2012, urging him to inform his security team of the situation. Meanwhile, at the Annex, the members of the team communicate with their families. Jack is having a conversation with his wife Becky and their daughters. One of the girls tells Jack that Becky is expecting their 3rd child, which she keeps a secret from the other girls. That evening, the huge crowd of militants barged into the compound and launched an attack as the Libyan security personnel on the outside surrendered to the attackers. Meanwhile, Wickland transports Stevens and Sean Smith to the panic room, where the armed groups open fire on the compound. Having known they won't be able to break in, the armed rebels begin spilling diesel fuel on the floor in an attempt to burn the men to death. The fire is started, having brought a dense trail of smoke into the emergency room. Wickland is able to escape, But Stevens and Smith are not so fortunate. As soon as they learn of the invasion, the Annex's men immediately begin planning how they will respond. However, the chief continues to refuse to dispatch them for sheer terror that the Annex will be rendered defenseless. The team defies their commands and proceeds to special mission without consulting anyone. After reaching the destination, they were not prepared to see many armed rebels attacking the special mission compound. The February 17th came to aid the Annex and started clearing their area. Some secured the perimeter. As the Annex kept moving forward, they saw many Libyans watching soccer or walking past them as if it was just a regular day. The Annex made their way at the back gate of the compound to avoid further firing that would put them at the disadvantaged side. The commander of 17th of February called the enemies to TR and negotiated a surrender. Jack and Roan discover Smith, who has died as a result of smoke inhalation. The team attempts to return to the Annex, but they are being continued to pursue by militants armed with RPGs and AK-47s. The men retaliate against the militants with gunfire. Fear of retaliation, the CIA officers make an attempt to contact the nearest air bases in order to enlist their assistance in a military operation against the militants. Their communication with Glenn "Bub" Doherty, a General Reconnaissance Service officer in Tripoli, allows them to form their own team and travel to Benghazi for assistance. As soon as the GRS arrived at the Annex, they all went up straight to drink water, prepared themselves, and started planning what to do next. Each assigned group on 4 watchtowers went in for position and wait for the militants to show up. Slowly, the Annex is being surrounded by enemies. Further militants are making their way toward the Annex, where they will continue their offensive against the Americans. Regardless of the fact that they are under heavy fire, the team responds by firing back and continuing to try and protect the compound. A retreat by the militants and an attempt to regroup by the team are both necessary. Glenn and his team show up to lend a hand. According to the team, Stevens' body has been discovered, and he has died as a result of smoke inhalation. The Annex is immediately notified that additional assistance is on its way. A short time later, the militants come back and launch a mortar attack against the Annex. Roan is struck by a bullet and dies, followed by Glenn a short time later. Oz has been seriously injured, and his left arm has been mangled. When Jack discovers Roan's body, he breaks down and begins to cry for his closest buddy. As the sun rises near the horizon, the team is exposed. A large caravan of vehicles is approaching the Annex. Tonto does have his gun clearly directed at a bunch of men from the automobiles, but he receives a signal from them indicating that they are there to assist him and his colleagues. Tonto exhales a sigh of relief. These men from the Libyan military are in charge of rounding up the Americans and transporting them to an airport. Stevens, Smith, Roan, and Glenn's bodies have been managed to recover and taken away from the scene. The chief refuses to board in the plane that will take him back to his home until Jack faces him and orders him to do so, after reminding him that he is partially to blame for some of those who died during the attack. Jack makes a phone call to Becky just to let her understand exactly he is okay before leaving. His tears flow as he informs her that Roan did not make it in time for the gender reveal party. As soon as the plane arrives, Jack uncovers Roan's body and takes one last look at him before leaving. According to the credits at the end of the film, 28 Americans were rescued on that day. Libya has been proclaimed a failed country, and it is now a base of operations for the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Large numbers of innocent Libyan people managed to gather to pay their respects to Ambassador Stevens 10 days after the incident. After receiving medals in a secret ceremony, the chief and surviving members of the GRS were allowed to return home to be with their families. Subscribe for more videos like this and turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.